pawns, man, in the game, they get capped quick. They be out the game early.
Unless they some smart-ass pawns.
This is not myth.
As of this recording, a lot of podcasts have started, failed. We did not. We are here to finish it. We will wrap up. We only have 6 episodes. Listen, I don't like to toot my own horn by saying like my show is the best show of all the shows, but my show was able to wrap it up in 55 and 40 minutes, respectively. Fucking Wire and Oz had to just drag their shit to the final stage, like long time. One, deserving of the runtime. Probably could have just done an episode 11. I'm not here to tell you, but it would have been, what's the difference? Don't know. And then Oz was a fucking waste of time. But we'll get there. I remember just like looking down at like doing that refresh, like to see how much time is left, and I was like, I still have 40 minutes. Jeez, like it just kept dragging. So we're here. We are concluding this episode. We will not rank the seasons or the series as a whole, because we will give an overall series to the entire thing. Next week, well, when you're watching this, the next episode that we will air will not be Chernobyl, 11/22/63, or Band of Brothers. It will be a recap episode for everything, and El Camino. We are watching El Camino, and there's an Oz like 20 minutes. Thank God. Honestly, we said this like season. I think we said this about season 3.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it just came out this year, so it was almost like they designed it for us.
Well, and to be fair, not to jump ahead, because we would never do this on the show. But he does tell us something at the very end that could be coming back. Who knows? Interesting. Because I just know we'll be back. It's 2024. He's still not here, but I just want you on the record. So we will do that, and then we will rank the series, and then we'll touch base and like talk about everything. Then we will do 11/22/63, Band of Brothers, and Chernobyl, and then by record date, nobody will know how long Matt, me, and Mark were not together, unless like unless we drastically lose weight, shave parts of like it doesn't. We don't really know what you're going to see, but we will launch up season 2. And next week, we will announce what we're doing for season 2 of the show. And season 3 of this show has been discussed.
We're already talking about season 3, season 4.
Hashtag pain. Just want that on the record. I don't think one of the strategies will work out because I've been crunching some numbers, but we will discuss after the call. But yes, Matt, honestly, of all people, your service is done. Your time is your prison sentence is over. You no longer have to attach yourself to this show. How are you, and how was your viewing experience?
I gotta say, like the last maybe season or 2, I felt like I've been in the hole, pissing in a bucket over in the corner and shit. But it's kind of bittersweet because I've enjoyed spending some time with these 3 shows. And now that we're kind of wrapping them up. But I think it's going to be interesting to talk about these and kind of how what they left us with. So, yeah.
Yep. Mark,
Yeah.
Hold on. I didn't ask my question yet, so please don't jump ahead.
Okay.
You are strong. You're looking good. I would say if some people watched last episode, things got very intense between us. The Wire brought up some passion in me. But for the record, are we still friends?
I mean, I guess although only if you commit
He
to that.
didn't
good
sound so
strong-
sure. He didn't sound so sure.
I'll just say only if you commit to that good and strong bit for like the next 3 months, because I mean
Yes.
that's how long you have to commit to it for
Yes.
anybody to see that.
Yes. I will commit to it.
The only thing I will say, I don't think it's necessarily fair because like I feel like I talk about the best show in this. You feel like you're talking about the best show. I think it's only fair that Matt has to pretend that he gets to talk about it.
Oh no! If you guys want that, we got to bring Mike back on.
By critics and fans would disagree about Oz for a large portion. But did you have fun watching the end of The Wire? How many times would you say you've seen the end of The Wire?
I mean, I have watched this finale quite a few times. I think it runs really well. A lot of times, I'll just put it on if I feel like it, and then it just triggers a rewatch of the show.
Yes, I don't know if I've ever. I think I've started season 5 more than any other season of Breaking Bad, which is weird because I think arguably maybe 4 I like more, but I just love the Hank and Walt stuff. I just think it's great. The beginning is different, but Tim McCullough looked me straight in the face and goes, "Oh, season 5 is when that show goes downhill," and I went, "Are you talking about Breaking Bad?" He's like, "Yeah, the Hank stuff was cool, but that stuff was yeah." I was like, "Are you watching the same show?" I was flabbergasted. I know everybody likes Gus, but I thought it was weird. All right, so we're gonna do what we normally do. We are starting with. Yes, I'll get to you in a minute, dog. This was just decided earlier in the show. This is not to rank which show is better by going first. So The Wire was picked to go first just because that's what we've been doing. So The Wire will start. We will do the 2 episodes of The Wire, give overall thoughts on the season, but not give any rankings on that. And then we will move on, do the normal show. But then it will go Oz. We will conclude Oz, and then we'll conclude Breaking Bad. So, floor's yours, Mr. Menchaca. Take it away.
Great. All right. There we go. Episode 9, Late Editions. Start off by seeing that after, like Freeman and Sidner have been on Marlowe's ass this whole time, they now see a clock message that does appear that they may be on to the main stash. And after going around it, they realize that they in fact are like on to wherever they resupply their whole thing. So now they decide to go in, arrest these guys, and also to come clean to the higher ups, namely Daniels. Gus goes ahead and calls a friend. He wants to look into Scott's background. He knows he's full of shit. He's just trying to figure out how to get proof on that. As this guy look into pretty much every story he's ever written. Yeah, I don't know who this guy is, but he's like, the blonde haired guy. Like, I can never remember his who works for Carcetti. I just call him Pencil Neck. Pencil Neck stresses to Rawls and Daniels that the crime needs to go down in the next quarter. They tell him, yeah, like we can't fucking do that. We were cut to the fucking bone before, and you're also asking us stats. We're also telling you that like none of that fucking works. So Daniels lets Pencil Neck have it. Immediately after he gets out of the meeting, he is met by Freeman, and Freeman tells him, "Hey, we got a line out on Marlowe. We got Monk and Cheese with drugs. Bunk has a warrant out for Chris, so like we got him." And of course, Daniels is like, "Okay, that's a lot, but sure, yeah, we'll put out these warrants." Once that happens, pretty much all the main players for Marlowe's crew is arrested. Monk is taken down by Sidner.
I do love when Daniels looks at me. Anything else you want to tell me? Like we as audience goes, yeah, there's something pretty big you want to. But he's like, man, you're giving me a lot. Oh, where did this all fucking? Anything else? And he's like, and then he just smiles and moves on. I'm like, which out of everybody, he's find out later, he's the most free and clear of this entire situation because he's been with them. He's got he's years in. So I thought it was funny how he's just reacting to everything.
Yeah, but no, we got the whole. They got arrested Monk. Sidner's one arrested Monk. They got Cheese, Chris, and speaking of Daniels, not Daniels, sorry. Freeman gets a nice moment where he stares down Marlowe, looks at his phone, looks at the clock, kind of like saying he immediately put it together. Got Marlowe's crew is looking over the warrants while they're in jail. They're trying to figure out how they're arrested. They suspect a snitch. They throw out Michael's name, thinking that he was maybe one of the guys. Then after talking about it, they throw Monk just kind of throws out, yeah, he was saying stuff about saying we killed Junebug over some stuff and you're letting Omar get away with it. And he's like, whoa, wait, what do you mean Omar was saying stuff? Like Omar, what is he saying? He's like, I don't know. He's just, he's like, what, he called me a punk? And just fucking goes off. The fact that Omar was talking shit about him in the streets, saying his name is his name, which we'll get to in a weird way. Omar gets a weird little victory over Marlowe from the grave. McNulty and Jay started getting an argument. McNulty's clearly trying to shut this case down now that Marlowe's in bracelets, and Bunk and Kima are still clearly frustrated about it. Scott hears that the homeless killing stories have a shot at a Pulitzer, and the bosses seem to be going ho for it. Alma tells Gus whenever she tried to get a quote from Daniels, whenever there was a dope on the table in that press conference, he refused to quote and told them that Daniels that they lied about Daniels last time he was in the paper about that. So Gus finds that peculiar, since that was Scott's quote that he got from him. Freeman celebrating Marlowe's arrest, but McNulty, for whatever reason, not in the mood for drinking. And he's been in the mood for drinking this entire show, and he's like, yeah, I can't do it this time, which, hey, so it's finally getting to McNulty here in the end. Snoop tells Michael that she needs help to kill somebody and tells him not to bring a gun, and Michael definitely finds that peculiar that a hit woman, Snoop's prowess, telling him not to bring a gun to a job, definitely ringing some alarm bells. Then we see Naaman pop up, a good old Naaman Bryce. We see him cutting it up on the debate stage. Clearly has a silver tongue. And it's the first time we see Colvin go face to face with the mayor whenever the Amsterdam stuff went down. Snubs him from it with a handshake. Kind of a funny scene. Gus has a lunch with Nerisse and is able to dig out of her that she didn't give that quote about Daniels. So Scott clearly lied about that. So again, more proof that Scott is full of shit from Gus, and he's not done yet. He'll do at least one more thing there. Herc tries to get out of Carver that his number led to a Freeman wiretap. Couldn't get that from Carver, but he at least continues digging on that. We got Fletcher, who begins interviewing Bubbles about his life. He trying to write a story on him. Gets kind of a look at what his life is with his sister. Notices that even he's been there for a while, he's been clean for a while, she's still at least somewhat cold to him still. Lester has an interesting meeting with Clay Davis. And Clay, after years of Lester kind of, stumbling in the dark on this money trail, Clay Davis just kind of opens everything up for him, just says, hey, you want to follow the lawyers. The lawyers are the key to this. The lawyers like get all these guys with the high-end drug money, and they show them how to clean it overseas. So like the drug guys give their money to the lawyers, and the lawyers in that kind of use that money and kind of funnel it through developers, politicians, kind of whoever kind of needs it at the time. So really, like, you want to get in the lawyers, and then there are guys like me who kind of hang around the lawyers and see if we can get any of these high-end drug guys to kind of do stuff with us without going through the lawyers, a la Stringer Bell from back in season 3. So Lester at least gets in a good line of at least of kind of what the hell is really going on with the money trail. He also gets a nice tip about about Levy using an informant in the courthouse to kind of get an early look at prosecuting documents. He will follow up on that. And as I said, Gus continues his deep dive into Scott's background. He visits that military guy who they wrote about, the guy who got his hands blown off, and he tells him just straightforward, yeah, Scott just made everything up. He at least made up the gung-ho, like, kind of Black Hawk Down shit. That did not happen. There was no extending firefight. Explosion went off. I lost my hands, and that was pretty much it. Kima then goes and warns Carver that McNulty was not on the up and up. Says, hey, you want to get your guys to get their story straight. They didn't know about anything. Carver's like, I don't know. They fucking did police work. I also don't know what you're talking about. What's going on? And she just asks him the ultimate question, like, hey, how'd you feel turning in one of your guys? Carver was like, hey, it needed to be done. And she takes that and does what she needs to there. Michael decides to stake out Snoop. He definitely smells something fishy here. He's also staking out the rest of the crew just to kind of figure out if it lines up with what Snoop is telling him. We also then see Bubbles celebrate a sobriety anniversary. I don't think they ever actually said it was 18 months, 2 years, whatever, probably something like that. And he goes up in front of the group, and we see probably the most vulnerable that we've seen him throughout the show. He is finally able to talk about Sherrod, and does seem like he is finally able to move on from the sadness and the grief and the guilt and all that. So, like, we're able to see Bubbles at least finally move on from that situation. Perk tells Levy that he does believe that it was a wiretap because it just doesn't make any sense to me. He can just kind of sniff it out. Like, this is definitely a Freeman wiretap. That's just what he does. Gets a number and he just works it to death. Although he tells him, I'm not hearing about anything on a wiretap except for the homeless murder. So there's something that's not quite right on this one. And then at that point, we see Kima going to see Daniels. And we go off screen, but obviously she tells him that the homeless serial case is a sham. Daniels goes and tells Rhonda, hey, heard something fucked up. We got to check this out. I got to see with the phone number that's on the affidavit for the homeless killing. They go take that to the evidence control, and they dial that number, and son of a bitch, if Marlowe's phone doesn't ring right out there on the table.
Marlowe was the serial killer?
That reaction by the way Daniels and them uncork it all, like, get it, and just, no. And they're like, yeah, and that wire's attached to it too. And they go to it, and one way to find out, and he just sits there and hits that button, and you just see a light up. Mother.
And finishes up.
Who would have thought that crazy idea, this dumb plot point that they all did, was going to backfire on them? What? No. Jimmy. Also, it may not be this episode, but when they find out, to act like they just were the most lock and key, like, airtight. There's nothing that could get this case taken. We have this down. What? Like, you're an idiot. Like, Jimmy thinks he's Sherlock Holmes. Crazy.
To be fair, he was drunk when he came up with this whole plan.
That's right.
Well, I mean, the case on Marlowe is solid. Everything else that was the problem.
Yeah.
The plotting, the illegal wiretap, all of that.
Yeah.
Yes, finish this off real quick. On the Snoop picks up Michael to do the supposed deed, and after talking with her for a matter of 30 seconds, he does realize it's clearly a setup. Gets her to pull over, says yes, take a piss, and then that's bit. He pulls a gun out on her, and then she kind of goes off on him in those last moments, saying, "Hey, it's your turn. Like Chris is in jail for something he did for you. You're probably talking. You were never one of us. All that." And at that point, Michael does shoot her in the back of the head, thus killing Snoop. And he then goes back to his apartment, tells Bug and Duke that they got to get out of here. Ends up taking Bug to an aunt that he has in the city with a shoebox full of cash, to where she will now take care of Bug from now on, and he's safe from anything that Marlo's crew can come back at him. And he goes to drop off Duke at the stables with the guy that he's been working with, kind of picking up trash, who also, I don't know if we got in the suit, clearly a drug dealer, but not drug dealer, clearly drug addict. Yeah, drug addict, just selling the trash on the street, for drugs. And Michael says, "Yeah, I know what they're doing in there, Duke. I
it's the only place that'll take me."
I wish I was dropping you off somewhere else. And tries to have one last good moment with him in the car, bringing up that moment where they threw the piss balloons at the Terrace boys, and Michael, for the life of him, just can't remember. Drops him off, and Michael drives off. Duke walks into what will unfortunately be his destiny for probably the next 15 to 20 years. And that is Late Editions.
Solid. Had to recover a lot from last 2 episodes. Thought it was going to go really downhill from there. You're going to hate this, and I know you're going to hate this, and I apologize, but this is the problem with your favorite show of all time. Everything wraps up at the end, which is great because all the storylines are coming together. I'm perfectly okay with that. But that makes me automatically like the last 2 episodes way more than any other episode that could possibly be, because the dominoes start falling. And in a police procedural, you like when the dominoes fall. Blame IMDb. Don't blame me. That's what the definition. Come up with a better word for it, and I'll call it that. But that's what the show is. I love you, but it's what it's called. Besides the point. So when all the dominoes start falling, that's when the show gets really, really interesting and really, really good, because everything in The Wire is a slow burn leading to that point. It's not like it's brutal and can we just get to the end? But it's those 8 episodes, now the payoff's here. So it benefits the 8, 9, and 8, where some shows just, we have to have a banger 15 and 6, 9 and 10, because that's the last of the season. In The Wire, they earn their 9 and 10 because they've set up everything up to that point to make it work. So that's why 9 and 10, for being that long, works, because all those dominoes fall. And especially, I don't think we've ever seen The Wire. Yeah, we've seen the police side of it, where they're doing some fucked up shit, and holy crap. But this is the internal of The Wire. The final 2 is when The Wire decides to extend themselves and make cases happen instead of thing, and watching that stuff fall, and to watch Daniels figure it out, and them and Kima having to break the new, all the stuff that builds to it. It's why it's a great episode, man. It was really, because the whole time you're sitting there, it was Jimmy's doing this, Jimmy's going here, tying this. Okay, when's Jimmy getting caught? Because Jimmy has to get caught at this point, and boom, when it starts happening, and Jimmy's they do it real smart. Jimmy's just keeps doing his life, living his dream. They have no idea. Which is not common with the Wire crew, because I think Jimmy, Rawls would have slammed Jimmy's head against a filing cabinet as soon as he found out. But he does have a great moment in the next episode. But But yeah, great episode. Great episode.
Yeah, I mean it's great. Like it's kind of starting to tie everything together, and there's some real fantastic scenes in here. I just love kind of seeing Lester's grand scheme, and pretty much they caught everybody. The work it all came to, and it worked. And of course, just seeing Marlowe's reaction and his crew and everything. And then I think my favorite scene is Marlowe there in the prison cell when he finds out that Omar was calling him out to the street, and he gets like the first time you actually see him like show emotion in like all of his episodes, he gets so angry about that, and you can tell why Chris and Snoop kind of kept that from him so he could keep his cool and composure behind the scenes and not just run off into the street trying to chase Omar down and probably getting killed in the process. So I love that, and of course Bubbles, just the transformation that Bubbles has gone through in like the last season and a half, 2 seasons or so. But it's just the last season, yeah, because just fantastic, and he finally
His
gets there.
physical transformation from the start to now is crazy.
Yeah,
like I don't know how much he got paid to become Bubbles at the beginning, but holy hell, it looks like Bubbles found a KFC. Like Bubbles is healthy. Like he looks like he was eating the dirt.
I bet this is probably his favorite season to do.
I was just like, what? Like, bro, hey, by the way, before you come back, we need you to chunk. Thank God. Let's go. I've done 4 seasons of this shit, and I've been miserable. No, it looks like a different person.
Oh, definitely.
Like, he's the same, but it looks exactly like a different person. So
yeah. And of course, this is the episode we had to say goodbye to Snoop, who is definitely one of my favorite characters. And I feel like maybe she could have tried to pull that off better. I feel like, I mean, her and Chris trained Michael. She knows what he's capable of and his skills and stuff. She probably should have just tried to surprise him, not just like, oh yeah, don't bring your gun. Well, I got you. and then of course leads to one of the saddest scenes is dropping Duke off there to his dark future, where I guess he's pretty much gonna become the next Bubbles. It's just some rough stuff. But yeah, great, fantastic episode overall.
Yeah, like this is I mean, really, I think the second half of the season, I think, is really when everything kicks in, and 9 is just really the culmination. It is. I mean, the main disagreement is whether or not we like Omar's death, and I clearly love it. And like, yeah,
love it. You're trash.
So yeah, we get to 9. Yeah, this really kicks in when we get the arrest. We get that finally that in where everybody in Marlowe's crew gets arrested, and we had that awesome moment in the jail where he just loses it. Like,
can I just have one minor complaint?
I guess you've had a couple already.
I have not said anything today. I've been quite nice, so why don't you retract that? All these criminals are really easy to find when they're time to get arrested. I just want that on the record. It's very convenient that all of them are in the same they're quick, and if that's fine, but they're very convenient.
Well, they've had police tailing most of them the last couple episodes.
That's fair. That's fair. I think it's very coincidence that no one runs. They're all there. It's a minor. Doesn't take any points off. Just an observation. Some would say. Noted. Thank you. You can move on.
I mean, in Marlowe's case, like he's never anywhere near the drunks. Like he's just sitting out. Like he's doing nothing illegal. Like and kind of the same thing with Avon. He's just at his titty bar, just doing titty bar things. So.
Oh, that titty bar things.
But anyway, yeah, like that scene where like Marlowe's just it really, I think, comes together, especially kind of which for the sake of possibly getting an argument, I think it kind of goes into possibly, like where I think it kind of puts into perspective at least what Omar was thinking in his last couple of episodes, in the sense that I think the moment he jumped out of that window, he realized that he probably wasn't going to kill Marlowe or really anybody from his crew because he's alone, his fucking legs broke, and Marlowe has all the muscle in the city. he can fuck up his organization 100%. Like he can go like steal from him, do all that, but he probably wasn't getting to him. But what he can do, he can fuck with his rep. He could fuck with his rep, and that was the one thing he knew he could do. So he went around spouting his mouth because he knew what at some point it was gonna get to Marlowe, and that shit was gonna bug him. Because there's no way it doesn't bug him, because that's exactly why he killed Butchie, to bring him back. Like it's a nice kind of 4D chess move, I think, from Omar over the last couple episodes, and kind of thing we don't really see it until we see Marlowe blow up in that jail cell.
They could have, if they wanted to do that, they could have sold that better. Thank you. That's all I will say.
Yep.
You're being very combative tonight when I'm trying to be very respectful. I just want that. Matt, take note. I'm trying to be the good one. He's trying to poke the bear.
Well, that forget what I was going to fucking say. But yeah, all the newspaper stuff I think goes by pretty well. Like I think it's going to blow, leading into a nice little blow up here, and then, yeah, the Michael and Duke stuff is just really fucking sad. There's no way around it. Comes to honestly leads into what I think is probably the best series finale on television. I think I love it that much.
Sir, did you watch this? Did you watch this week's episode?
Yeah. Did you watch Oz?
Yeah. Jeez, did you watch Walking Dead?
Yeah. I mean, we saw the most tearing rendition of a city play of Macbeth, and that really tied everything together.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, we should finish this up. Going into 30, which is apparently a newspaper term that depicts like the end of a story. Look that up.
Oh, because I was like, it's not 30 minutes. I'll tell you that.
I mean, they could have put a ×3, I guess, next to it. And,
I would like that.
So, anyway, maybe, possibly not the best, but we maybe go into maybe their most hilarious cold open, where we go in on a stunned Carcetti. Can't believe what he's heard. That the homeless serial killer thing completely made up. He can't talk about it. He's like, what? I mean, and Norman's just on the side laughing his ass off just because, like, he can't believe that these cops manufacture something to get paid. We manufacture an issue to help you get governor. Everybody's getting exactly what they need because some guy made up a few murders. So Carcetti's people want to try to get a hold of it, even though Daniels wants to shut it down, prosecute McNulty, Sidner, and Freeman tomorrow, and get them out of the police force and in front of a grand jury. But Carcetti's people are like, that's a good idea, but maybe let's think about this for a second. Maybe we're not get a little too hasty here. And of course, this does not bode well inside of Daniels. He doesn't want to do that. Talks about going over to the governor, although the more they think about it, Rhonda realizes that I'll probably be fired. There's fucking no way that I won't be, because I was in charge of this investigation. Like, they're like, how'd you not know? Like, if this was happening, it's like, well, fuck, I can't see what's inside this guy's head. I didn't know he was just making shit up. You heard the call like that went to the newspaper guy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, when Daniels is like, what, we're just gonna sit on, and then she's like, well, you can't do that. And then she's like, well, fuck, wait, I'm gonna go down with this whole thing. Like, how do I not? I have the wire case. Like, what? Like, I did all the work. Like, yeah, it's crazy. It's just like, and of course the government's like, hey, like, we need to just brush this under the rug. Like, we try to do every other bad thing that we find in Baltimore.
So that we see Freeman skulking around the courthouse. He has found Levy's leak. Some guy who has a bunch of gambling debts.
A bunch. This motherfucker has homes. He's mortgaged 3 times his salary. I was like, good God, man. Just like, you may have fun. I don't know how you even have fun doing it. You have lost everything and then some.
That's how addiction works.
Yeah, right. I'm like, well, I'm going to get it back one day. No, you're not.
I mean, I may give a slight sneak peek. It feels like this guy would have been one of the main characters from our next show. Would have maybe been after this guy for all the money that he was into at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, going into that, Bubbles reads a Fletcher story that he wants to put in the paper, although Bubbles is unsure about it, seeing all of his personal stuff and charade out on there, so he's somewhat uneasy about it. Carcetti's people do seem to want to shut this thing down quietly, but Rawls sees the wheel spinning. He sees, you know what? I can maybe turn this into me getting a full commissioner term if I can do this right. But old Pencil Neck sees those wheels spinning in his head, and he's like, you know what? You keep your goddamn mouth shut. We'll make you superintendent of the Maryland State Police. How's that sound? And Rawls always loves to make a deal, and so he decides to take that deal and gets everybody put at ease. So it is settled that they will shut this thing down quietly and probably put Freeman in the pawn shop unit, and McNulty will probably be back on the boat. We see a disheveled Duke go and see Prez, who Prez definitely looks more teacherly this time around, able to actually handle a student who does wrong at that particular time. And Duke wants to borrow some money. He's like, I'm out in the streets. I'm lying on the place. You can help me do that, and yeah, you can give me some money. I can enroll in the GED program. But Prez sees through this. He's like, yeah, I mean, we could do that, and I could take your word for it, but there's a chance if I do, I probably won't see you again. All right, Duke? And he's like, yeah, well, maybe. I'll definitely be around. So he gives him the money, and yeah, clearly old Dookie is trying to get some money for a fix.
He watches him walk off and give the guy the money.
Yeah,
yeah, that was a tough scene to watch.
Then Freeman goes over, tells Rhonda about the leak, implicated Levy in the crime, and Freeman tells her, hey, we can probably figure out how to get rid of all this drug money. But though she still reeling and pissed about what she just found out, definitely lets it loose that she knows that the homeless killer case is a sham. Jimmy once again fighting with Jay about not needing the extra manpower. He's trying to get this thing shuffled away. Then at that point, Freeman goes and tells Jimmy, hey, they fucking know. We gotta talk about this. Let's go meet at the bar, try to figure out our options, which then leads into arguably the best moment of the episode, where McNulty heads over to the elevator and has the most awkward, silent interaction with Daniels. Walks out of that elevator, and Daniels just looks at him and says, to be continued. After discussing it, Lester and Jimmy realize that, this is too big. Carcetti's been bullying the governor over this homeless issue. They'd have to get rid of all of Carcetti's people to bring this to light. So they're probably going to do this quietly, and it's possible we get arrested, but probably won't be until down the line. Gus then gets a word from his buddy that Scott has been lying about all of his stories, even back when he was in Oklahoma or whatever the fuck he was before, saying that he's definitely massaging quotes and making up stories. Finally see McNulty having some good time, spending time with his kids, looking somewhat fatherly. Though he is called to a scene. He's like, I understand. There's definitely nothing going on here. I'm definitely not manufacturing any of this shit anymore. Apparently, good old Scott witnessed somebody trying to drag a homeless guy into a van. And then McNulty's like, huh, really? That happened, huh? Okay. And then turns out undercover cop posing as a homeless guy walks up, says, hey, I don't know if you knew this or not, but yeah, that Scott guy, yeah, he's totally lying. No, like that guy was lying on the street for 45 minutes before anybody noticed him. So,
That
nobody's
was
trying
probably
to
the best undercover cop they had in this show. He was really good.
So then Gus then gets an argument when they want to run Scott's story about the abduction, and he really lays it into old Gail Bedecker, saying, hey, he's 100% lying about this. And it may have started out as something true, but this is not true anymore. Like the cops are saying it's not true. I'm done with putting up with this shit. Levy then confronts Rhonda that he was pretty sure the wiretap they used against Marlowe, or he's pretty sure they used the wiretap against Marlowe. We see a copycat murder in the homeless case. McNulty then tells Kima and Bunk when he's brought to the scene that the bosses know there's some shit going on, that this is definitely not one of his. And then McNulty goes back to homicide after coming back from the scene. And he comes back and sees Rawls and Daniels waiting for him in one of the interview booths. And Rawls just needs to be reassured that McNulty isn't killing these guys himself.
You didn't kill these guys, did you?
But yeah, I pretty much tell him, listen, you got to shut this thing down. I don't care what you do, anything. This case gets put down now, or we're gonna fuck with you so hard. Like you wouldn't even believe how bad it's gonna be if you.
Well, they ask him about the new one, right? And he's like, "It's a copycat. I have nothing to do with this. This one's not mine." He's like, I thought we told you to stop or whatever. I thought you'd stop. He's like, not mine. I can't tell you where this one came from. Like, Jesus Christ.
Anyway, going back, he's looking at the evidence, and he knows something peculiar. He notices that all around the body were like these business cards, and that triggers something. As he realized, there was this other murder that the rookie in our squad caught, also had business cards around the body, and he realized he talked to a guy that had this whole thing with business cards. So he's like, "Hey, I think it's down." Like Bunk disbelief, like, "You're not that good, you motherfucker." Alma finally goes back to Gus because when whenever Gus called out Scott, he then said something about, look, everything I said was in my notes. He threw down the notepad. Alma finds the notepad and goes over to Gus and say, hey, there's nothing in his notepad. He didn't write shit down. At that point, Gus takes the file that his buddy put together and the notepad, and finally decides to pretty much give all his evidence to the bosses that Scott is totally full of shit. Rhonda tells Pencil Neck that Levy knows about the wiretap, and Pencil Neck is like, listen, this can't go to fucking court. You got to figure out a way. Rhonda tells him, well, we got some leverage on him. I mean, we can probably do something about that. She goes back to Levy, plays him the clip of him bribing somebody from the court. Is able to talk him down into at least cutting a deal that involves at least some of Marlowe's people going to jail. That gets Monk and Cheese in prison. Chris goes down for all the murders, but unfortunately, Marlowe does get a walk. McNulty finds a business card guy, and he gets him to confess, or so to speak. He wasn't denying nothing once he got in the interview booth. Rawls definitely wants him to at least confess to the other homeless murders. If he's definitely out of his mind, he'll just go to like the fucking psych hospital. McNulty pushes back, which gives us the one last good argument scene with him and Rawls. But also Scott's there. He wanted to. They wanted to do like a photo check to see if he recognized the guy, and we have McNulty confronts Scott that he knows he's lying, tells him, hey, I know why I fucking lied. I don't know why you lied about any of this shit. Levy then gets over to Marlowe, tells him, hey, you caught a break. This case is really fucking dirty, but makes it clear to him that you got to be out of the game. if they even find out they're even close to the drugs again, they will use this case. Doesn't matter. They don't care how dirty it is. And then also at that point, Levy gives Herc a good old attaboy that Herc was able to, earn his keep throughout the time. The mayor called a press conference on the arrest, say that the homeless stuff is over. At that point, he does promote Daniels to commissioner. Immediately, he has a meeting with good old Pencil Neck, and he says, "Hey, we're not seeing that 10% drop in crime." And then Daniels sticks to his gun and says, "Nah, motherfucker, the numbers are going to stay clean. They're going to stay clean before the election, after the election. We're going to fucking fix this police department now that I'm ahead of it. I was promised that." And Rhonda meets with McNulty, and Lester tells them they won't be fired, but they are definitely not going to be around any police work. Their days of investigating are done. They will be going back to normal work or normalish work, whatever. Marlon says a member of the co-op. He's out of the game. He's still in the connection of the good dope for $10 million. And then they have, I guess, like they're, even though they're not dead, give McNulty and Freeman their cop eulogy. And we see Jay probably say maybe the nicest things that anybody will ever say about McNulty ever in his life. I don't think he'll ever actually have that good of things said to him at his actual funeral.
Correct. Probably more people will show up to this too than his actual funeral.
Also, throws around the best compliment you can receive on this show, being natural police. Then we get Nerys, that old fucking bitch. God, she really is like just one of the most underrated villains of this show. She is really just a fucking asshole. Like, probably will have a very long run of Mare. She takes the dirt that she had from Burrell on Daniels, and she gives it to his ex-wife. And she makes it clear either she's going to use it, either if Daniels doesn't juke the stat, she's going to use it, or you can play ball. Which Daniels is sitting there is like, well, I don't want to fucking juke the stats. That's not what I want to do with the job. So it contemplates, whistleblowing on him again, but realizes immediately that Rhonda will probably be fired. He doesn't want to hurt her, but he also doesn't want to hurt his ex-wife. So he unfortunately does decide to step down as commissioner, which, I mean, I think is maybe one of the craziest things about the show. Like, he's the commissioner for like 36 hours, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna quit. Kima tells Jimmy and Freeman that she was the one who turned them in, and what do you know? They forgive her pretty much, immediately. Like, it turns out, they don't really care. It's like, hey, it had to be done, detective.
They know they were wrong. So.
McNulty does go back home to Beatty. He does at least seem to still have a home there. He at least didn't ruin that after all. The co-op guys get together trying to figure out that they have the money to buy Marlo's connection. They were able to kind of fill it out with cheese, and then Cheese starts spouting out the mouth. Some guy starts talking shit over to Cheese. And Cheese pulls out his gun on the guys and says, hey, you guys are talking this back in the day shit. It's our time. We don't need to be going back on this. And then once Cheese puts his gun down, good old Slim Charles blasts Cheese's fucking head off. And of course, immediately the guy's like, man, why'd you do that? You just cost us $900,000. Now we need to come up with that to get this good dope. As Cheese's body is twitching on the floor. At the end of the day, Bubbles does decide to let Fletcher put out the story. Bubbles sees his front page story in the news. Alma is transferred from the Baltimore paper to, I guess, one of their like lower end papers. Gus is a little bit confused because he left her name out of it, but she said, no, I came forward about Scott, and he's like, I don't know why you did that. Like, they were never going to fire Scott. Gus just said, I did this to keep my conscience clean, even though I knew they were never going to fire him. He's their best shot at winning a Pulitzer. They don't really care if they lie about some stuff, just as long as it makes them look good and it, makes them money. They're going to go to that, and kind of gives us kind of the last little farewell to the paper on that. Daniels' last act as a cop, and the commissioner was to promote Carver over to lieutenant. So Carver is now a full-blown lieutenant. Nolte goes back to the homeless shelter to find that guy, he kidnapped. Gets him back over to Baltimore. And maybe the most head-shaking scene of this episode, we see Sidner coming forward, talking to Judge Phelan, saying, "Listen, man, like we had these guys, but they don't want to push the case forward. Like if you make a phone call or two, you're probably going to figure something out, and notice that there's some dirt going on. And my oh my, does this sound like anybody we know?" Levy and Marlowe go to some high-end dinner to kind of get Marlowe introduced around to a lot of those fat cats with the money and the developers. And Marlowe is clearly out of his element. Clearly does not want to be there. Leaves immediately, and rightfully so. He's stuck out like a fucking sore thumb in that one. Then we see Michael, also looking mighty familiar, hitting up Marlowe's old bank, the guy in the tire shop, for to say, "Hey, like I know you got a bunch of money in there. I thought it'd be mine." And then shoots him in the kneecap, steals from him, clearly trying to emulate someone else. We go to see Marlowe walks up to a couple guys that are telling like some weird ass story about Omar getting into a AK fight with like another rival drug gang, and that he got blasted down like some corner, and of course Marlowe picks a fight with him, almost gets shot in the fucking head. He gets cut in the hand, and we just see him just revel in the streets because can't take that shit out of Marlowe. The streets is just who he is.
Yeah, the best part of that is like they're all talking about Marlowe, and he comes up and is like, "Do you know who I am?" I was like, "No."
No clue.
Then we see McNulty. He found his guy. He starts driving back to Baltimore. Takes a look at the city, and then we get our montage, kind of to get us on everything that's happening, or at least kind of fill us in on like the last few shits to kind of confirm some stuff. You see Scott win the journalism award. He unfortunately did move up in the ranks. The co-op is now working with the Greeks, so the good dope is still going to flow through Baltimore. Carcetti is now the governor, so he did move on up. And fucking little asshole, like who just wanted his fucking church windows voucher is made commissioner of Baltimore. At the end of the day, that motherfucker just keeps finding ways to win at the end of everything. And of course, Duke, now a drug addict. We see him shooting up in the stables. Daniels reverts back to his law degree. He's now a lawyer. Rhonda, now a judge. We do see Rawls in charge of the Maryland State Police. Bubbles has now earned the trust of his sister upstairs with the family of Bubbles is now all the way back. And to tie everything up in that nice little bow, we do see Kennard get arrested for the murder of Omar. So that was the last case we see down in Baltimore. McNulty takes one last look at the city, gets in the car, drives off. And with that, we get one final look at the true protagonist of The Wire, the city of Baltimore. That is 30, and that is the end of The Wire.
That green screen was really terrible in the end.
It's not great. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not great. It hurts every time I see it.
It's not
Once
great.
we drive off and we just see the city, that's beautiful. I love that.
I love the montage. They kept the montage, like what they like to do at the end. They just wrapped up the entire thing and did it. But it was a lot of good character moments. So, again, 11 is what I would have said. Like, you could have wrapped it up that way. But I understand why not. Like, don't drag it.
I think they gave them the options, like, "Hey, we'll give you another episode if you want." I was like, "Nah, just give me like another 30 minutes."
No, I'll put it in. I'll put it. I'll tie it out. Overall, great episode. Basically, I love when she's sitting down with McNulty and be like, "You can sit there and stay as long as you want because firing you would draw this back up, but you ain't doing police work. So do what you got to do. Whatever. Wait till your pension." While Freeman's back there like, "Deuces, I'm 32 years in. This means nothing to me."
I mean, Lester's really the biggest winner because he's still got his little miniature furniture thing that's making tons of money. He's got Chardine at home waiting for him.
Yeah,
So,
Lester's like, "Dude, fucking deuces. Like, I don't have to show back up tomorrow." So that was good. I liked all the ending. I like the simple like things they added in that montage that like Bubbles going upstairs and stuff like that, like stuff that you like were hoping for some of those characters gets paid out. So I thought overall it was a real good ending to The Wire. I thought the overall episode almost played it again. You could never, you can because you're a weirdo, but it plays like a movie into the aspect of leading up to that. So like the runtime never felt the entire time. I'm like, oh, I'm just I even forgot how much time was left. Clearly, I was late to the 9th episode, so I was like, this is just working really well. So yeah, I thought it was a great ending. We'll get overall final thoughts and when we talk about the next week, but for our season finale, perfect butt.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely a great. They did a great job wrapping everything up. I mean, there's so many little scenes. I mean, I love the whole scene with Prez and Duke. I mean, that's such a hard scene to watch. And seeing someone have to go through that, and I love that McNulty pretty much like instantly solved the copycat murder in like 5 minutes.
And I did like the guy. I killed them all, and they're like, and then Rawls goes, "You're facing indictment, and you want to play a moral." He's like, I know I
going to the
effed up.
mental hospital. What's the matter? 2?
Like, I know I effed up. Blah blah. And then that reporter are you charging him with the 2, or are you charging him with all of them? I'm like, bitch, were you inside our room? Like, what the fuck? And then like 2 for now, but there is room for other stuff. I'm like, good lord, like, well done. But it was just really funny how they're like, Rawl steps up and, you want to play moral? I know I screwed up and I own it, bitch. What? No, you don't, McNulty.
Oh, and then Scott, the dumbass that he is. And now, as stupid as Scott is, I believe that if he's lying about all this stuff, he'd probably be writing something down in his notebook. But hey, I understand that. Well, that's how we need to have your gotcha moment. So,
I mean,
yeah, I thought that was a little far fetched. I'm like, okay.
He probably used to write stuff. Maybe when he was back in fucking Oklahoma, he wrote down the lies. Like, you know what? Nobody's
now he's the favorite. No one cares. No one's gonna say nothing.
He threw that shit down, and just everybody. I just started. She's like, nothing on it. Like, bitch, why would you throw that then?
And I do like Michael sort of becoming the next Omar. I love that. Like, you're just a kid. Is like, that's just your knee.
Let's try to remember that line.
And I do kind of like I kind of said a little bit of last week is like the legend of Omar is going to live on, because even these 2 episodes, you hear like people on the streets telling different stories about how they heard Omar died and all that stuff. I think we hear like 3 or 4 different stories about people talking about it. And then, like I said, I just love at the end that it was like, nobody's going to remember Marlowe. He's not going to be able to resist the street of the pool. He's going to end up he's going to end up getting arrested again and going away for a long time. And he's just going to be a little blip. But Omar and the legend of him is going to continue going. And the one last little bit that nobody mentioned for the montage is I see you got Chris and Weebay hooking up in the prison yards. Like, I think those 2 together could do that. That'd be a fun episode of Oz.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean it's a great show that they wrapped it all up. I mean, I feel like I remember not liking the season as much, but now watching it again, maybe because I didn't just race through it all this time around. I think that kind of one of the good things of us doing the show this way is we get to kind of like space things out and get together and talk about the episodes and stuff, make sure they appreciate it more. So Yeah, great.
When you have
You
to
know-
force yourself to stop at 2,
Yeah.
and like this is your 2, and like focusing on the 2 instead of clicking, of course, next. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
I'm
next
gonna watch
episode,
13 episodes today.
yeah, like no, it's like you back away from the remote, or you watch Breaking Bad multiple times in this span. So there.
All right.
Yeah, just sitting here thinking about it, I think we maybe fell ass backwards into a better version of Oz. Yeah, if we were in like that Baltimore prison with like Avon and Weebay and Chris, and there's Sergey in there, like that, I would much rather watch that version of Oz. If I'm being completely honest.
I mean, half these people were on Oz, so I mean, they could do it.
True.
Yeah,
I like Korn just laughing his ass off when they found out all the news, and it's like, I should have joined the newspaper. This is like this. I had to write your asses up. I was like, good lord.
Yeah, I love this episode. It's like maybe my favorite episode of TV. I definitely think it's the best series finale ever. You go through just so many emotions.
Matt.
You guys mentioned at least a few of them. You feel happy some places, you feel sad. There's just some really good comedic moments throughout.
He's trying to trigger me.
I mean, listen,
You're playing dirty.
You'll get your time. And you know what? I don't think you're gonna get a lot of pushback in yours either. So there will at least be that.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, it's I think also especially with The Wire. The Wire had like a million open stories, and they somehow managed to give a conclusion to all of them. And not only that, they come on. I don't know what we're getting.
They do a montage to close them, but you have to use your own interpret. There's not like it's almost as similar to the picture comes up on screen and text follows it and be like, this person decided to get into the sport of field hockey. Like, I get it, but like they could have done more to conclude the episode. I understand they may have been limited time and stuff like that, but like there's certain stories like. I don't know about you, and I know it's not important, and I'm not telling you it has to be important to you. But like Bubbles going upstairs, like that could have been a scene. Like I would have been fine with like an actual scene of Bubbles and like interacting in a home environment. But I agree with you. The stairs and everything symbolizes exactly what it needs to. But I'm saying there's some good heartfelt moments that we could have spent a little bit more time with certain of the characters. I'm not saying it's bad because I think the montage actually successful, but if you told me it was episode 11, like it cut off at one point and we picked back up and they expanded longer, I would have been fine with it.
Yeah,
What?
I mean, there could have been a scene where Littlefinger becomes governor, and then like the next day, he's like, okay, now I want to talk about president.
Yeah, he's like, we need to lower crime for the whole state. The budget's going down.
I mean, I suppose, but it's just we're trying to be economical with the time.
Oh, there he is again. Not happy with it. You can't say anything bad about The Wire. That's just how we have to live.
I mean, I'm just saying, there's like a million fucking stories here, and they wrapped up all of them. They found a way to wrap up all of them, and not even that. Like they figured out ways to like kind of reinforce the theme that they already had of. At the end of the day, nothing really changes, especially like with the drug stuff. Because even though they were able to put together like this one perfect case against Marlowe, he doesn't get arrested. He's still back out in the streets. But again, doesn't really fucking matter because like the streets are just who he is. He's gonna stay in the game, get arrested, killed, whatever. That's gonna happen. And same thing, kind of what we see in pretty much every other character, like Michael and Dookie, who just from the environment they end up becoming the characters that we end up seeing kind of either exiting the game or have died. Like everything.
The other kid who's like now doing debate club and stuff because he's been there with Colvin and he's living the good life now. So he's gonna maybe go on and be successful at something.
Personally, I think he becomes Clay Davis. Like that's just me. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into the, we don't have to get into like my whole theory on that, but that's personally what I believe.
Shit.
But yeah, just like everything just kind of keeps going. Everything just kind of rolls into the next thing. Everybody just kind of replaces the role in a sense. Like even though I feel like I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, everything just kind of stays what it is, and we just see kind of where this overall story of this city and every part in it. And I think at the end of the day, it is fitting that the last shot of it is of Baltimore, of like the one true protagonist of this show. But yeah, I think it all fits. It wraps up everything up. It wraps up everything perfectly in it shouldn't have. And I think pretty much every character gets a perfect wrap to their story. And even one like where like the newspaper stuff, I think I kind of love the newspaper, going back to the newspaper stuff, at least today, because it kind of goes into themes that I think have aged like really well, pretty much with the newspaper and like how over sensationalize the news and kind of fake news and all that shit. I think it actually holds up really well today.
Okay. Time to go to Oswald for the final time. We'll be back.
Oh. All right, Oz. Like I told you guys earlier, I mean, I was looking at my notes this morning just because I usually like to kind of go and condense them down a little bit, take out the fluff.
we are not going to fault you at all. I can give you the cliff notes off the top of my head that I think are important to talk about. For a season finale, they fucking suck at closing it.
All right, so let's start off with the season 6, episode 7. It's got a title. I didn't look them up, but
love it. That's the thing.
I'm just gonna rapid fire most of these.
Love it.
Poet is a little jealous of Hill's book. New inmate Stanley is looking to sell pot brownies. Camo is not too keen on this new enterprise, so he helps him let off some steam in the kitchen, and they kill him. So yeah, the pot brownie enterprise is gone.
Gone as soon as it starts. Gone.
Poet.
Yeah. This is the penultimate episode of the show. Why the fuck are we introducing these characters? Fuck is up? I'm sorry. I couldn't believe whenever that.
And they're allowed food items now. Like
they're just brownies.
We ain't never seen anybody with a fucking bag of Doritos at this point.
Somebody had cookies, I think, in the first season.
Well, they may have. Right.
Poet and his group go back to Reading and the telemarketing job so they can steal credit card numbers, which I think is like the end of that story.
Fucking inmates and getting credit cards. What could go wrong? What?
We have another new inmate up. Oh no, that's not it yet. Pablo kills a guy for making fun of him for reading books, as you do. Reba Dow waits to hear about Stella's operation. And McManus gives him the thumbs up that she's okay. The mole almost got stood up at the altar again. It was this close, but she showed up and they got married. Would have been so much better. She just stood him up again. Okay. Oh, here's some good stuff right here. Idzik is pestering White about killing him, and it's kind of taking the fun out of it for White. So he goes to McManus and tells him. McManus doesn't believe him because he's Omar White. I mean, anything he says, who knows? Idzik tells White that the universe is coming to an end, which then White then spends all morning doing some goodwill hunting shit, doing some research on the internet, and writing down a whole bunch of notes and stuff, and determines that there is some hope that the world will be okay. So he's not going to kill Idzik. So that night, Idzik kills him, which makes McManus feel bad. But I mean, all around, it's a great move. Idzik is the hero we needed this whole time. Omar White is no longer on the show. Robson is informed that he is HIV positive. Dr. Nathan tells Ryan that she flashed to her husband's death at Cyril's almost execution. Ryan tells her that he wants to focus on helping others and asks if he can come work in the infirmary. And she's, oh, yeah, okay. Another new prisoner in Oz, Ryan's dad. And Ryan and Cyril's dad shows up in Oz because he had somebody drop a car on somebody or something. So yeah, he's there now. Vern and Beecher both get parts in the play. Beecher tells Vern that Keller killed Winthrop. Vern doesn't really care, but he tells Keller that they have to kill Beecher. Keller attacks Beecher and ties him up behind the curtain there on the stage. Keller tells him he's only pretending to work with Vern so that he can keep Beecher safe. And then the next scene is Vern and Keller talking about the plan, about telling Beecher that they're working together and blah, 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 blah. They're playing the same old thing.
Most awkward kiss ever.
It's so romantic. McManus asked the parole board member to meet with Alvarez. Alvarez meets with Cutler's widow to sign the paperwork, and they flirt a little bit. Another new prisoner, Alonzo, wants Alvarez to be his number 2 in his quest to take over the drug trade at M City with the new drugs that he's got coming in. Leo questions Yude about who killed Willie Brandt, and Yude suggests that he forget about it. The crooked CEO talks to one of the prisoners about doing a final job for him. McManus walks in on his ex-wife and Leo making out. And then there's a big party at
the end. Pause. He is talking for a good 10 seconds. And they're still making out. I'm like, okay. There's no get off me. No, just we're just, and then he started walking away. And Leo has doesn't understand the issue at all. What?
I mean, you guys aren't married anymore.
Yeah, why is
we're all adults.
I mean, I thought he was acting normally because it's McManus who gives.
Oh yeah, he gave him just the right amount of attention and respect, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a big party. Leo's supposed to be getting some lifetime achievement award, which is appropriate because he shows up and he's been stabbed. And then he just drops dead in front of everybody. So that is the end of Leo's reign as Warden of Oz and the end of this episode.
I think that's a record.
Yeah. And I have nothing to cool.
I mean, I said, a lot of stuff happened, but nothing really happened.
I will throw in one thing. I do think it's funny is that both shows had at least 2 shows here had an Omar. Neither of them made it to the finale. I will say I do think it is really funny that Omar was just trying to be good. He's just trying to not be a problem, not kill, and that's exactly what gets him killed in the end. There's something hilarious about that.
Yeah. If it had happened to any other guy.
and honestly, there's only 2 moments in the last episode that I even care, that I'm frustrated about. But other than that, that's
it. Yeah. All right, so we'll get into it. The series finale of Oz.
If you want to call it
that. So we start out, a prisoner rats out the prisoner who killed Leo, and that prisoner then gives up the crooked CEO Johnson. McManus punches him after he's put in handcuffs. That's a total McManus move right there. Johnson implicates the governor's aide in the conspiracy. And in the meanwhile, Querns is back. He's been named the new warden. And he reminds everyone, don't fuck with Querns. I've missed him, honestly. I was happy to see him come back.
I will be honest. The last time the show was even remotely watchable, he was the head. So I don't disagree with you.
Stella's back in the library. She's having some memory problems due to the medication she's on. She visits Pablo in the hole and reads to him. The mole wants to have a baby. So that was the storyline they
Jesus
threw
Christ.
in here.
I'll be back. Just fucking-
Yeah, so he goes through all that, and it's denied because I mean he's a prisoner, so they're not going to bend over backwards to help him get this lady pregnant. He doesn't react too well to that, and he gets him put in solitary, which I don't even think he ever ran that by her at all. Really, he's just like, oh, I'm gonna do this. It's like it takes two people. She just had a kid, but. Oh well. Speaking of babies, we find out that Officer Howell is pregnant. Who knew that could happen?
Crazy.
At least she thinks she has a pretty good idea who the father is.
Sure, it could be fucking anybody. We see her fucking every guy in this prison. It's fucking it could be Timmy Kirk's baby.
I missed everything you said. I don't really care though. Oh, Diane.
Oh yeah, Officer Howell. Yeah, she's
Howell,
gonna go off and have a baby, and then I guess give it up for adoption, or whatever.
She should just visit that old cop in the thing and have him push her down the stairs again.
I should just have the baby and then just smuggle it in for the mole. He can like hide in the hole or something.
That's you know what? When they said those back-to-back storylines were very close, I went, "Don't you?" He's gonna buy this baby.
I mean, I honestly thought that she was gonna walk in there and have sex with him in the solitary, and then it'd be like, "Oh, look, I'm pregnant. It's your baby."
Yeah, something crazy. Like,
we get some returning faces. Jackson Vehu, I guess he got out at some point and he's back playing basketball, but he came to talk to the prison, tell people like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, felons come back up.
Officer Brass has an awkward conversation with him.
This man was a millionaire and then decided to go to jail.
Brass then tells Murphy that there's no hard feelings between them about him ratting him out. And then he quits. And then we see on the news that Brass tried to shoot Vehu at a practice, and now he's famous. So there's that. Father Ray tracks down Hoyt's mother and arranges a visit. Timmy Kirk's mom is crazy, as he was, and he is making things very uncomfortable. She's making things very uncomfortable for Father Ray. Hoyt tells Pete and Ray that the bikers took Luke Perry's body away, and Father Ray goes and finds the remains in the wall. So I guess when we saw him sit up last season, the bikers were coming and they took him and put him on a wall again. So yeah.
But we all just don't want to like. They don't want. They think that they don't remember us thinking and making us believe that he ascended into heaven.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. He was still visiting Hoyt and stuff just in the wall. I just want to know if everybody else is on board with this. Like, remember the coffin? Remember when Hill went to the coffin? Do you ever remember when Hill went to the coffin? This is literally gaslighting the show. They're like, we never did that. What are you saying?
It's the stupidest fucking thing ever. It's like I don't know. I don't understand why you don't just like.
No.
Oz is fucking dumb at this point. Why don't you just commit to the dumbest thing you ever did? Just fucking commit to it.
And then did they show Father Ray putting the cinder block back like he was just gonna leave him there?
He just covered it out.
He's like, oh, this is gonna be a lot of paperwork. I'm just gonna.
He just decided to sit down and repent for a sin and then just move on. But
I'd rather leave it like it where it was a miracle where he just disappeared.
He's like, ew. Wait a minute, what? I was dumbfounded.
Oh. Yeah, so in retaliation of that, one of the bikers kills Hoyt for talking.
Hoyt's been through so much shit and he can't make it to the final part. Like, he's got to die now. Like, he should have been dead 45 times.
Arif tells Redding that he's feeling really guilty about what happened with the bookbinding machinery. He goes and he tells the Muslims and they beat the shit out of him.
Saeed never got his ass whooped for nothing. Like, he did a lot of bad things. He was fine. But this guy does one thing wrong. He's got to get his ass fucking whooped. And McManus goes, "You all right? What was that?" Like, bitch, like, you send people to hole for littlest things.
Yeah, so he tells McManus. McManus puts him in the cage, and then Redding is sent to solitary. Alonzo, meanwhile, is getting more and more of the prisoners on his side with his new drug. We see Chico has a bad trip in the little laundromat thing they got there on the new drug, and he ends up ripping his throat out. But he's okay though. They took him to the infirmary and they took care of him, so he's good.
They gave him a new throat.
Yeah.
They had a supply.
Good.
We had a donor just walk in last minute and give you a throat.
Alvarez, I know Cody Alvarez is one of your favorite characters, so I'm sure you're happy with how his story ends up. Alvarez visits Cutler's widow. They kiss. Vern's spy sees it, and then Vern threatens Alvarez and beats him up. And then we get the parole board guy has a meeting with Alvarez. He tells McManus to go step outside. This private conversation. And he tells Alvarez that he will never get out of Oz.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll do the little song and dance. I'll bring you before me just so I can see how much
I will
worse
agree
it's
to
getting
every
for you.
parole meeting ever just to make sure you're not on it. I will stay on this board forever. I was like, yeah, my favorite Oz character by far.
He comes back to his pod, and Alonzo is there. He's his new roommate now. And Alvarez, he just gives up on everything, and he just starts taking the drugs. So that's pretty much Alvarez's future.
Love it.
McManus asks Sister Pete to talk to Idzik and see if he should be on death row or not. Idzik tells her that he killed Saeed for revenge because of the words that he spoke to Idzik ruined his life. His death sentence is overturned. He's not happy about it, but McManus gives a nice little pep talk, so that makes it all the worse. So, the O'Reilly's family drama continues now that the Papa's in Oz. He asks Vern to kill Joffrey for him, but he says no.
Anybody else feel like this is like 3 seasons too late for this fucker to come to Oz? Like, we're gonna bring him in the last 2 episodes. Like, yeah, let's go.
And there is a callback in the scene to one of my favorite jokes in this whole thing about how no one can pronounce Schillinger's name right, and he gets pissed off with people about that.
Yeah, I love they don't do it as often as I'd like, but it's like, motherfucker, it's Schillinger.
Vern says no, so he decides he's going to take matters in his own hand. He attacks Joffrey, and he ends up getting stabbed himself, and Joffrey gets sent to the hole. Dr. Nathan tries to make Ryan promise that no harm will come to his father. And then we come to Cyril's execution, take 2. Like I told the guys before, like I do not believe that all these prisoners would come together in this joyous moment of getting in their pods and banging on the glass twice. I feel like you get one of those, but yeah, not twice. This
did
time,
this shit once. I ain't doing it again. I have a headache.
This time, there's no phone call, so the execution goes through. Poor Cyril is electrocuted. And
what's the fucking point of doing it the first time? The first time it was at least like emotional. It had mad. Then they said, gotcha, bitch. We're gonna put you right back in it. But this time we're gonna not do anything. Like, Leo's not there. Nobody's. Corn's there. Like, sitting there, like, fucking fry his ass.
But Gloria and Ryan are like making out in the maze while it's happening. So
yeah, holy shit, my brother's dying. You want to fuck finally after 6 seasons in the wide open gym? Well, nobody comes to the gym unless they're to die, so that makes perfect sense.
I mean, I don't know. Everybody's using that stupid fucking maze, so possibly somebody wants it.
But there's no intention behind the fucking maze. They just all end up showing up at the maze for when they're going through a hard time, and Nathan goes, you know what? His brother's about to die. He can get it in once, I guess that's fine. What?
Oh, God.
She also said she was going to transfer, and she's still at the prison. So
yep, still there, happy and go lucky.
Yeah, and now they're working together in the infirmary, so I'm sure that'll be some fun times. So yeah. Ryan and his dad have a nice little bonding moment afterwards.
After he gets fried, I want to see Cyril, bitch.
Too late.
Missed it by that much. Sorry, buddy.
Oh god. Robson, he tells his rape support group about being HIV positive, and he's getting transferred to the AIDS unit. So I guess that's the end of his story. So Vern's sister visits and tells him that their father is dying and gives him a photo of his granddaughter. We have Beecher talking with the FBI agent who is offering him a deal to testify against Keller, and he says he'll think about it. Then Keller tells Vern the plan is to give him a real shank during the play so that he could stab Beecher in front of everyone. During the Macbeth play, Vern and Beecher play characters fighting with one another, and Beecher stabs Vern with a real shank that Keller switched out without Beecher's knowledge. So Vern is dead at Beecher's hands.
That's how fucking Vern goes of all time. Vern playing Macbeth. I want to know how that went around in the whole fucking Aryan race. Like, when they're sitting there, I was like, anybody want to go travel to Oz to watch Schillinger play Macbeth tonight? Like, what the fuck? Like, that hard ass
when
my
the one
ass.
guy visited, I feel like people don't really like Vern.
Clearly not. Like, hey, put on a performance of Macbeth. What the fuck do you mean? Like,
But yeah, so
yeah,
he ends
shame
up,
he's dead. One of the best characters in Oz, gone just by an accident. Like,
yeah,
not an accident,
it
but a
was
setup.
ruled an accident. Yeah. So that's good. Keller tries to move back in with Beecher, but Beecher tells him that his feelings haven't changed, and he doesn't want to have Keller in his life anymore. Keller tells Beecher that he loves him and leaps to his death, attempting to frame Beecher. But Keller did say that he took care of the Aryans before he died. So in the mailroom, a package comes, and it is open. It contains a jar of white powder, which anyone in a mailroom, when you come across a jar of white powder, you're definitely going to open that, which they do. And pretty much everyone in the mailroom instantly dies. They don't know exactly what it is, so Oz has to be evacuated. So
it was early 2000s. It's got to be anthrax. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
That's what everything was in the early 2000s. Anthrax. There's anthrax on something.
Which Keller easily somehow managed to get his hands on a whole jar of it and then get it mailed to the mailroom, but who knows?
You're asking too many questions.
Everyone's loaded up on buses and they're all bussed out of there. And then the creator of the show is in there in like a hazmat suit, and he comes in and turns the lights off. And that is the end of Oz. For now.
Yeah, they did say we'll be back. We will be back. We will be back. If this is for 30 years from now, motherfuckers, you're going to get a StreamYard link. We're all going to have to link up and watch it. It is the one thing. There's not a lot to say. Like, the Keller stuff is really annoying. He was arguably one of the best characters. I think the setups were really cool. I think like the killing of the Aryan, like that makes perfect sense. Him trying to frame Beecher, like the one character that everybody, like, I would be 100% shocked if it wasn't 100% success rate of the one guy in Oz that you feel any remorse for whatsoever, and that would be Beecher. And we end it with him being framed for a murder, like no, the whole group is excited when he gets out of jail. They force him back in. There's emotional elements, but like, it just seems so dumb. Like, it's just a bad end. Like, I understand him sacrificing himself. Like, I don't want to be with you, and like him standing up on there and just him falling, but not making it look like he did. That's fine. Like, that would have been more Keller-esque. But I think it was just silly to now. Again, you look it up on the wiki or whatever. It's like still incarcerated, could be still incarcerated. Like Beecher, we don't ever know if he gets out or not because he could have been framed for this murder. I was talking to a friend. I think this is the one of the one show. I don't watch a ton of TV, but I feel like this show, it doesn't have to be the same, but why there isn't, like, I know they did Prison Break and stuff like that, but I think Oz could 100% be brought back. If you got, like, good writers and stuff, and, like, actually develop the characters to drag for seasons and, like, cut it off at 5, don't let it go too long. But I think it has the workings of, like, the prison, inside prison relations work. It's just,
And you can even have some of the characters are still in prison because I mean they are in life in prison. So.
They just flew so fast. Like they were like, "Oh, we got this," and then when they got white hot, they just didn't know where to go. Like they were like, "Oh shit! Like what are we doing?"
I feel like they had 3.5 like pretty solid seasons, but I feel like they just kind of they ran through everything, all the stories that they had in them, and then they started repeating shit.
The problem is they should have introduced more characters into season 2 and season 3. Like kept the old crew there still, but they should have developed the other characters. So when you started killing off main characters, you had other characters to take, but you just didn't have that. And I think we overall as a show did this a disservice because we pinned it up against 2 of the like top 10 TV shows of all time. Oz is never mentioned in those breath. So it's like fucking Mona Lisa, the Sistine Chapel, and like, look at my finger painting that I made in 7th grade. Like, it doesn't equal the same. It doesn't work. So, I mean, and then they just drag it on. And that's season 4, right? That's the one that extends out.
Yeah, that was the like half of a good season, then half of like
that was literally like draining. To get through these last 16 was very difficult, and that was like it burned it so bad that I just didn't give a fuck about any of the characters at this point. Like I was just like, cool. And then they just tried. They had a great moment with Cyril. They pulled that back and then gave it to us again the next episode. It was just like they just kept stepping on their feet, and I don't know the creative process behind it, but there is a great Oz is great in that, and in moments it has great moments. But holy shit, it does not have a good story, which we'll talk more next. But overall, season finale overly long for no fucking reason.
We had to wrap up like 50 storylines, and we didn't wrap up any of them.
Vern going out the way he did, just dumb. Keller going out the way he did, dumb. Beecher being framed again after he just got acquitted for the first one, dumb. Like he's the one character you don't want to have anything bad happen to. So, yeah, I thought it was silly, dumb, pointless.
It wasn't a fucking finale. Like there were 3 characters that I feel like they got endings that I kind of liked. Like I kind of like Alvarez just because like he at least got an ending, and in the sense that we getting him get the shit beat out of him all the time, and now he just lost hope. But okay, that's something. Like we have a guy get a sad ending. Okay. Even though, like, I think for the most part his story wasn't super interesting last couple seasons. I think they actually gave O'Reilly like an ending where he's just not like an angry guy anymore, and he can forgive his dad at the end. Like, okay, that's something. And even though, yeah, it is kind of dumb, I at least kind of liked that they turned Keller into like this weird wild card at the end. Like, it's the only thing that like kind of gave us some suspense in this episode, because you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. And like, oh, Vern dies. Like, okay, cool. But yeah, this isn't a fucking finale. Like, I was kind of wondering, Oz was always really bad at doing finales. I wonder how their series finale is going to be. And it turns out the joke's on us. Like, they still didn't do it right. And not only did they not do it right, they just didn't do it. And they just gave us like, oh, and that everybody left Oz and they never came back. So it turns into fucking Chernobyl. Like, what? I don't. It's fucking dumb. I guess you can go back and do it. I don't know if I fucking care. Like, I don't care. Like, it'd have to maybe be like on the level of like Mad Men, where I don't think we're worried about story. We're just worried about characters. But I just don't think anybody's interesting. Like, I feel like if you were to do it, you just have to go to a new prison with just a whole new slate of people.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's an Oz theme. The Oz theme works. You just couldn't bring back like you now if you did like a wink wink nudge nudge like Vern Schillinger like gets put into like if he wants to take like that role or Augustus Hill, you're like wait, but like different characters. But I think there's the prison environment is interesting enough. It just doesn't pay off any of the things that need to because they run too fast and loose with the concepts. It's a prison show, so we can murder whoever we want, but the murder should have moments and the characters' arc of turning on each other and common life and like setting stuff up and like it's like one of my favorite first seasons of television is Prison Break. I think the first season of Prison Break is a lot of fun. The problem is it's called Prison Break. Once they break the fucking prison, we're in trouble because we got to break out of more fucking prisons. Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like it should have built over a long period of time, but you had 24 episodes, and by the time you get to 24, it's like motherfuckers got to get out of this prison. We're Prison Break. Like it just doesn't work fully. So yeah, I think it's interesting, but overall, I'm happy the deed is done.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if I want to put on my make-believe Oz Defender hat, I'll say that, hey, I mean, it's a show about a prison, and most of these are prisoners for prison and life. So, I mean, there's really no final for them. I mean, they're just going to be doing the same shit for the next 20, 30 years, however long it is. Some will die, some will live. But
I wish O'Reilly was just standing there after everybody ate glass in their food, and they all start spitting blood, and O'Reilly's the only one standing.
I mean, unless they would have had the anthrax just kills everyone in the whole prison. Now that's a finale.
2003, surprised a plane didn't hit the building.
You see, that theme would have worked better if we literally just ended with nothing happening. If like no anthrax happened, we just fucking ended. Like that theme would have fit. And I'm like, okay, cool, but no.
Like the montage of just going through the prison and new people arriving and just like going out the doors for the final time. Like you're right. Like they're still in there. Like as of right now, like unless they've gotten no paroled, I think it would be interesting. You know, in my luck, they'd bring Oz back, and guess who the first fucking inmate that walks through the door? It's fucking Alvarez, and I'd be like, "Motherfucker, no!"
Alvarez shows up for his 15th parole hearing.
No. You guys want to talk about a good show?
I guess.
All right.
This is better than finale, so you know this one will at least be better.
I sense a little disrespect there. I will let it slide. I was looking over all episodes. Gosh, this season 8 episodes happened, and then they had to wait a whole nother year for the remaining 8. That's disgusting. So glad never had to do that. Episode 15, Granite State, basically just a symbol of New Hampshire. So basically, the last episode we saw him getting into the van, leaving. Pulls back up. They go to they pull past the vacuum shop. The van pulls in. Guy gets out, undoes lets the van in. He says, "You can get out now." Some people may be expecting Walt to come out. It's Saul Goodman. Saul Goodman's there, and they're setting up a new picture. He's in New Hampshire, and like he's going to Nebraska. Like that's where he's ended up going, which I've learned a little bit from Better Call Saul. I haven't started it, but like I hear the joke about running a Cinnabon in Omaha. But they say, I hate to do this. I don't normally do this, but you got a roommate. You're here for 2, maybe 3 days. Well, how's he holding up? And they take a picture. They turn on the TV, and it's Walt down there just fuming, just walking back and forth. Man's going stir crazy. We get to the thing. Marie is driving home. I'm guessing from like the closure of the call or funeral, but it doesn't really. There's no real like message. They pull up to the house. The house has been busted in and ransacked, and things have been taken. And the last thing shown on the ground before they cut back to Todd and them is the camera. So they have the tape for Jesse confession. They play a clip on the thing about Todd shooting the kid. Jack's like, fuck this. We're going to go kill him now. Like, no. He's cooking meth. He's doing fine. Like, don't do anything. Like, we're fine. So Todd ends up saving him because a sick freak is just like, he knows if he gets high quality, he impresses Lydia. Like, that's the whole goal. Like, he thinks he has a shot with Lydia. He doesn't, but sure. Walt is still scheming down to the thing. He did this buyout, but he's still scheming. He's like, I need you to contact like 3 hitmen that I need. And Saul's like, I don't have those connect. Like, we're not doing this anymore. And he's like, he gets very defensive. He's like, I told you the only way out of this is like with me. Like, we're doing this together. Like, he's like, we're here. Like, we've got now. Like, I'm nobody anymore. They start getting into raising voice, yelling at each other. Guy comes down from the vacuum and is like, everything good? And he's like, you're gone. Like, telling Saul, like, I got you a place. We're good. Walt goes, no, we're going together. Like, a change of plans. We're united. We'll go together. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to talk. He sits there, gets in his face, and then he starts coughing. And he's like, we are done here. And Saul leaves. Saul's gone. Walt's left. Cut back to Skylar sitting at the desk just talking while she stares off into the thing. Like, are you even listening? Like, are you paying attention? She's shell-shocked. Like, all the stuff that happened, the phone call from Walt, she doesn't know. They want him to confess to everything. She's in trouble. She has to figure something else out with Walt, and you want everything for Walt. But she wants to, if she doesn't give him Walt, but the truth is she has no clue. If you want his honest, like, so basically they're trying to leverage her, and there's nothing. Cut back to the White's house. Skylar is looking out the window. She ends up going to check on the baby. Todd and the family are in the house, ski mask, saying, there's a girl you saw at the car wash. Like, we're not saying anything about her. Like, we don't want to hurt you. We won't do anything. Like, you didn't say anything to those police officers, did you? Jesse Plemons knew to be a good actor, like, from the kid. Like, he's just got such a menacing, like, through that ski mask. So they end up leaving. Skylar is very broken. She meets with Lydia, talking about, like, we scared it out of her. No need to be fearful of that at all. She's a little too hesitant about it, but then talks about 92%. Wait, that's Heisenberg level. What do you mean? Got the second best thing, Pinkman. They're looking for Pinkman. Yeah, but we got him. Like, so they end up having Pinkman. Poor fucking Walt. I mean, they drove one way with in a vacuum in a maroon van. He has to, like, travel in the tight compartment of a propane truck over ice. Like, this fucking looks like it blows. Like, he gets out, shows him his situation, says when he'll be back, and, like, how the whole situation will work with him. It costs money to do what you're doing, like $50,000 to come back, like, deliver supplies. Like, he is in isolation, ice hell. Like, he is gone off the grid. But he has his money, and cut back. He even puts on the hat, like, one more time, the Heisenberg hat.
He also has Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, 2 copies.
He does.
One gets scratched up. One ready to go.
And he's like, I'm not a real big movie guy. Like, you can tell. And he's like, I can bring some more when I'm out. Like, basically, we see him, like, setting up life there, walking the distance, like how far it is to the gate, starting a fire, doing all this stuff. We see Jesse attempting to escape. Todd comes in and, like, has the whole conversation, like, about him. And Jesse sets up where he unhooks himself. He gets the pin. He gets out of the things, and he gets out. He runs, but when he runs, he gets to the fence. He goes to climb, and they are standing behind him with flashlights. And then, arguably one of the hardest scenes in Breaking Bad to watch. They drive him to Andrea's house. Todd goes to the door, knocks on it, goes, "Hey, Jesse, your friend Jesse's out here." Puts her on the porch where she extends out, and he says, "Just to let you know, none of this is ever personal," and then shoots her in the back of the head. Jesse, mouth gagged, bloody, just crying, screaming he literally just watches her die right in front of her because he tried to escape. Todd gets back in the car and he's like, "Shut up, be quiet," because remember, there is still a kid. And just that sinks, oh my fuck, these guys are just, they have nothing to.
Now that is really bad, but you did kind of gloss over the part where Todd did bring him some ice cream.
True. Yeah, bad guy. Todd, bad guy. Todd, very bad guy. Jesse's done, I guess they can say, Walt's got cancer and he is dying. But the shit that Jesse has to go through in this show, yikes. His buddy shows back up. I never remember the guy's name. Does they say his name?
I don't think they ever say his name. It's just the Vacuum Man.
Vacuum Man is what I've always referred to him. He comes in.
We don't know his name because
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
He's working through the. You can tell some time has passed since he's been back. He is weaker.
Got a full beard and hair.
Full beard. He is weak. He's got he needs, his glasses have worn out. He needs better glasses, so they bring him glasses. He is still going through chemo up there, and he's putting it through. And it's kind of weird. You see this morality from Walt near the end, because he sits there and he has this conversation. He's he's about to leave, and he's like, "Will you stay? I'll pay you an extra 10 grand, 2 more. Just please, 2 more hours." Because you know how lonely he's got to be, but how miserable he is. He knows how close he is to the end. He knows how he's feeling inside. He said, "I'll set for 1 hour, 10 grand, 1 hour," which is crazy. And then he has an honest conversation with him. He's like, "When I go, will you give my money to my kids?" And he's like, "You won't know the difference," basically, but if it helps you, in your brain, sure, because he's sitting there, he's trying to treat him and this guy is sure business. He can't get too close to any of the people. He's plausible deniability. So, and then we see how weak Walt, how much weight Walt's lost at this point. His ring slips off his finger in the middle, wakes him up. So he starts loading in money into a box. He's going to send it to him because he's like, "I can't trust this guy. Give him." But I know how, because he's having a conversation with, while he was there, he's talking about what Skylar's going through, the public defender. They're wanting to get him. She's living an apartment off the thing, not doing anything. So he gets there, and we cut back to Walt Jr. in class, gets called out of it. Walt has walked his way to a bar and is making a phone call. And Walt Jr. hears his dad's voice for the first time, and gosh knows how long at this point. It's a year basically passed from where we were to this. And he's like, "You killed Uncle Hank. We don't want your," he loses it on him. And Walt is really affected by the overall call. And then the fucking ego of this man contacts the authorities and says, "I'm looking for the investigation on Walter White." Well, who is calling? Walter White. And then just drops the phone and walks back and gets a drink. "Hello, sir, are you there?" He sits there, he has a drink, and then he hears familiar voices on a TV and looks up, and it's Gretchen and Elliot. They're sitting there talking about their initiative that they raised $28 million for the drug rehabilitation in the southeast, the southwest area, and they're like, some of them are saying that you just did this because you wanted to clear your name from your association with Walter White. But showing that he's one of your co-founders, that you're in this. This is just to help your stock price. This is this. And Elliot and Gretchen say some very just not good words about Walt. He was a name alone. That's all he did was help them with the name alone. Your name, my name combined, Gray. That's it. That's all he ever did for the thing. And he was he was a normal, but whoever he became was not who he was. Like, just rips him basically, but doesn't anything. He rips the ego of Walter White. And for the first
the
time,
sleeping dragon.
yeah, basically woken up. I don't know. I've seen the show so many times. I don't know how many times this happens in the show, but for the theme, the Walk Alone theme, the Heisenberg theme, basically, to cue in, like, he's back on the horse. Like, he was going to sit out there. He's back. And you hear it slowly start picking in, and his face gets really thin, and he just looks straight ahead, and you hear the dong. Well, the police show up. He leaves. And when they cut back, the drink is sitting there, the napkin's sitting there, money's sitting there, and you just hear the dong, and it ends. So Walt's going back. Like, just pissed. Because he created gray matter. He got out because of the relationship thing. That's he sold his stock out of it. Like, he got out of the situation, and to basically lie on TV for PR thing is just don't fuck with the ego of Walter White. So I think it's a brilliant episode. It's not brilliant in the sake of like overarching like holy crap, but like we get to see what transpired between that time frame of the beginning of the season opened to where he went, and like who he had to come, and like we see more like a emotional arc of Walt, like where he's descended, like we think like he's finally like descending back into like some normalcy, and then one reminder of home, getting yelled at from his kid, and now this. He's back on the horse. So I think it's a great episode. I think it's a great lead into the final episode. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good episode. I feel like this episode has the unfortunate position where it's in between Ozymandias and the finale. So I mean, it's not going to touch those, and it's got the important. It needs to set up. It needs to get you from there to there. So, but I mean, the stuff with Jesse and stuff in this episode is just heart wrenching. And it's difficult to watch. And then, like I said, it shows the transition from Walt to where he needs to be in the finale, where they've been teasing it already throughout the season. But he's showing up. He's got the full hair and the beard and everything, and the 52 and the gun and getting all that stuff ready. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not fair to the episode that it gets sandwiched between two phenomenal episodes. Especially Ozymandias. I mean, I think that's probably why they put this there, because instead of having the finale follow that, which would have been difficult for the finale even. So I think you need this episode to kind of come down a little bit.
Yeah, it's a perfect roller coaster. It goes back into it. Like, yeah, I think it's necessary, if anything. Like it's crucial to have this because it builds up so much like more. But Mark,
and I think it's really cool too. Robert Forster, the vacuum man, he's a really good character actor and stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah,
really cool to see him pop up in it too. Yeah.
But yeah, I do. Take that. Yeah, I do kind of agree with Matt, at least on that. Of it is kind of like this buffer episode, at least between that and the finale, like where it definitely has a lot of moments that I like. Because like the Jesse stuff is really good, and like just like how show just keeps fucking with him even after like he's prisoner, like he's already down. Like, hey, let's figure out how to make it worse for this kid, and they figure it out. And then, I mean, then they got stupid Flynn, just take the fucking cash, man. Like I don't know what, like it's fucking like why can't you just give it the program? It's trying to give you like $50,000. You're gonna send to your friend Lewis. Give Lewis like 10 grand. Everything's all well and good. You just keep getting boxes. But yeah, he's an idiot. Hate that part every time it happens. I also really like that scene where kind of Saul breaks down to Walt, kind of the current situation of his family. I always really like that scene. They get think on Better Call Saul, I think also get some good traction out of at least that one, at least from what I've heard too. And yeah, fucking Jesse Plemons, just a menace. He's plays such a menacing character by kind of playing it like kind of like some simple white dude. Like it's such an interesting character, such an interesting performance, and really does come to a head here. Just yeah, it does feel weird that we had this like insane high of Ozymandias, and then kind of brought down to this, which is all right. It just kind of it was kind of weird watching it kind of week to week when seeing this one, and then we're going to the finale here where like we got that nice spot where we're gonna like we see like Heisenberg come back even though it felt like Heisenberg was kind of absent for most of this episode, but it leads into what should be a good finale.
Matt, he's doing it again.
I was thinking from where I was when I watched the first time.
I mean, I agree with Mark, because when I watched it live too, I had the same feeling. I was like, because you watch Ozymandias, you got to wait 7 whole days, and then you get this. I was like, that's kind of a little bit of a letdown.
Okay, I will take it back, but I thought you were trying to poke the bear.
No, I like it because I've been doing that with all these episodes. I'm kind of thinking back to where I was like when I first saw it. I'm like, okay,
it's not so bad where you can watch like all 3 of these episodes in a row.
Yeah, because we get that kind of a longer breakdown of the theme. Like, okay, well, we're gonna lead into some stuff here, which just starts out with some Marty Robbins, which I find funny.
Okay. All right, we are ending episode 16. Finale. Okay, finale or whatever. Finale. It ends. Walt's in a snowy ass car. Walt has a Martin old VHS old cassette tape on the thing. He's frozen. He's trying to get into the car, trying to figure it out. Police drive by. He thinks like, oh, got him. Finally got him. This is where he gives himself up. Doesn't. He sits there and thinks, pulls down the visor, the keys fall down. He hits the thing. Old El Paso is playing, and he hits the thing. Face just shoots forward. He's going back. And he gets over, he pulls over a car. He's filling up for gas. He gets on the phone and calls to figure out when Gretchen and Elliot are going to be back because he needs an interview for a story that they're writing. He needs some pictures. Oh, they'll be back tonight. Great. Then we cut to Gretchen and Elliot coming through, having wine, cheese, talking, having a grand old time. Walt's just walking in behind him, just chilling, just viewing everything while they're. I love the camera shots in this scene where they see him in the kitchen, but he is on the outskirts just sitting there doing it. And they're going back and forth. She walks like back and goes, oh, it's just talking. And then she turns around and Walt's just standing there. And she's like, wow. Hey, so this has got a great view. I saw you on the TV show. Like, that was great of you. And like all the stuff that was happening. Yeah, why are you here? Are you here to hurt us? No, I have something to give you. Elliot pulls a knife. Walt gives him one of the best lines in the show. Elliot, if we're going to go that way, you're going to need a bigger knife. Like, just the shit he's been through, he ain't going out on a paring knife. I promise you that. And Elliot's shaking. So he brings in the money. He said, there's $972,000 sitting here. You're to give it to my son on his 18th birthday. If you want to give and Gretchen's got some balls in this. And she's like, if you want to give your son drug money, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, where did this all come from? I earned it. Like, I earned this money. This is what it is. You're going to, on his 18th birthday, put in an invocable trust fund for him that, call it liberal guilt, call it whatever you want, a man you once knew wrecked by the drug thing. I can't give them their money because they hate me. Their monstrous father. But I won't be around in 10 months, basically, to deliver this myself. But you're not to spend an ounce of your own money. This comes directly from me. All this comes from me. And sits there and ends up. And if you have any fear about not doing this, and then 2 red lasers go right onto both of their chests. Anytime you come and go, they will be parked out. They know where you are. They will follow you until it is done. What a horrible 10 months, by the way. Like, if you're thinking that entire feeling. And they will just, and he like gets bam, like right like on him. Like, all right, good. The best hitman ever that he was able to hire was Badger and Skinny Pete. They did the deed for him. And then he's seen driving too, and you get kind of a flashback to you don't know flashback, but it's like a dreamlike sake for Jesse. Like, he's woodworking, like doing whatever, like in this peaceful like side, and it's like making this nice box, looking happy. Cuts back to him chained up in the meth lab, still slaving away, cooking. We seen that. We get back to the diner where he was sitting there getting the money. We see him go and get the rosin out of the Heisenberg house. We get some cool like flashbacks to the season 1 of him at the birthday party that started the whole thing. Basically, like him happy, him smiling with his family in this house that is now a crime scene. I like this shot too. Lydia and Todd meet and have this conversation. Walt is sitting there on the side. They just don't see him because he doesn't look anything like he did.
I had to rewind it because I forgot he was sitting
Yeah.
there.
And then he shows up. He's like, "You got 2 minutes. Just let me talk to you. Let me tell you." Because he's a made man. Like, in this town, like everybody knows. Like, he said he found a new method to cook. No methylamine, easy, keep you in business. So he's basically just wanting to get together with them. He's coughing real bad, really weak. They were like listening to it. They're like, he will come there tonight. We'll just chat it out. Sound good? Like all this stuff. And they basically sign off like, yeah, we'll see you later. So Walter leaves. And then Lydia has to still remind Todd, we're not doing business with him. Like, we're not going to walk you through this. This is pretty easy what happens. And then I don't know if it's situational, but we get a elongated shot of Lydia pouring her stevia into the drink and stirring it in. Walt goes to the desert to set up a mechanism for a machine gun to fire a bunch of bullets. Interesting. Like, he's got it all set up. The plan is coming into place of what he's planning on doing. Again, I keep bringing this up. The camera shots in this episode, above all, like, they are so good. So we cut back to Skylar in her like a little apartment. She gets a phone call from Marie saying that Walt is back. There's a convenient beam, like right in place of it. They cut back. Walt's in the house with Skylar when this phone call happens. Like, it's just like they're all marking out. They're keeping the thing. They think like he's gonna try to convince, like, talk to her, like, don't fall for any of it. Don't, like, he's not there. He's not the guy. And then we get a pan in. Walt and Skylar are back together for the first time in forever. how'd you get in here? Did you hurt anybody on the way in? She's chain smoking like she's never chain smoked before. You look terrible, basically. Like the whole conversation was looking pretty bad. He just wanted to basically like this. He didn't want this to be the end of it. Like he didn't want like our last phone call to be the last time we talk to each other. She's asking the common questions that it was like if you leave, like if you turn yourself into custody, what makes them not coming back? They were threatening us. Like, how do we prevent this? And I think he said like, yeah, they're not coming back, not after tonight. And she's like, what's tonight? He walks forward to hand her something. She's like, I don't want your money. We're not taking it. I thought Finn made that very clear to you. I'm not giving it. I'm not giving you money. All I have to give you is this lottery ticket. This is the coordinates where you will find Hank. Like, and then if they come back, like I forced my way, like tell them that I did all this stuff. It's the burial site for him, like, and that's where we buried him. And these people shot him, buried him there, and took my money. And you trade that and get out of it. It's crazy. Like it's one of the most. It's one of the best scenes from Skylar and Walt. It's the conclusion, but it's like. And when he's like, you need to understand. And she's like, if I hear this one more time, you did this for the family, and I did this for me. I liked it. I was good at it. It's just something that she has been dying to hear for the entire time. And he finally just admits to who he was. Like, this isn't about, I started for the family. For the first time ever, he was alive. Like, he felt electric doing it for the first time. And it's just something like, it's like closure she needed. Again, this isn't just like TV Chronicles episode 21, Breaking Bad for like the 40th time for myself. This is like the Skylar reawakening. Maybe kids in my life, maybe understanding, but like how much she had to go through to be in the situation she is and like keep everything afloat. Like the weight seemed to be on Walt the entire time, but 10 times the amount of weight because she was the innocent body that had to keep both lives alive. It's crazy. Have a very emotional connection of him saying bye to Holly. He sees Flynn go off the bus. He's sitting through their house, like basically sees it, or through another house, like watching him walk up, but he doesn't get to have any interaction because Walt Jr. wants nothing to do with him. Walt pulls up to Jack's property, I would call it. They end up sitting there having a conversation. He ends up getting in the car. They're looking through the whole thing like, oh. And then they end up getting in the car. Tells him how to pull into the thing, which I think is funny. Just straight in. No. He parks a very specific way and then takes the keys, gets in. They're patting him down. They end up taking making sure he's not wearing a wire, like doing all the stuff necessary. They're going to hold on to his wallet and keys, which is the only downside to what he has to do. And then he puts it on the pool table. They have the whole conversation in the situation. And Jack's like sitting there is like, I don't think so. Like, do you know what I'm offering? Yeah. We're not in the really market for it. Like, we're fine. Like, we have more money than we can think of. Like, we don't need you. What are you low on methamine? And it's like, we'll just get more. Like Lydia's got no more heat on her. Everything's been cooled off. We don't need you anymore. Todd hits him with the line. You shouldn't have come back, Mr. White. Like, you really shouldn't have. He pulls a gun right to his head. Where do you want it? Well, not in my living room. How about that? Like, anywhere back? Like, move on. And then he said, he gets him one more time. He's like, you owe me. Jesse Pinkman. You never gave me Jesse Pinkman. He's your partner now. Like, all the situation. Jack's ego is just as bad as Walt's ego. Jack's like, partner. Like, he's basically is like, he doesn't have any partnership. Like, he is literally a rat. Like, I have nothing to do with him. And he tells him to go get Jesse. He's like, fuck him. Like, no, there's no way. Like, he's Walt has now positioned himself to his back facing the pool table where he's able to get control of his keys, basically, why Jack's like walking around and no one's really paying attention to what Walt's doing. Again, Walt had the whole situation of setting up that gun. There's a reason he pulled into the way he is. He has set this plan like he is taking them out with him. He sees Jesse pull up, walk in looking like a fucking mess. Walt gets close to him, basically, like looks him up, down. Feels kind of, I guess, bad for him. He jumps on him to attack him to make sure that he's angry. They're trying to get off. All of a sudden, he hits the thing. The gun goes and starts mowing everyone down inside the building. It's just a brilliant like execution of just taking everybody out. Walt is covering Jesse in the entire thing, like making sure Jesse is not hit by any of it. Walt is struck in the into the like he gets shot in the process. And like they have the scene of like the bed, like the massage chair, like going up and down while the guy's dying. And then Jesse, Todd is like going towards to like look outside. Jesse sees him like doing it. Jesse still has the ghost and strangles Todd to death. Most satisfying for Jesse to end up taking it out. I love the Jack death too. Jack like getting shot in the stomach. He's like, wait. Just make sure he smokes his last cigarette. Like, and he's like, you want your money, right? Like this, like I'll tell you where it is. Like everything. He just shoots him. Just no, he has no interest in the situation. He lets Jesse out. Basically, they have a square off. He has the gun. He basically gives it to Jesse. Lets Jesse take the shot if he wants to take the shot. Jesse stares him down and he's like, do you want this? And he wants to just say it. He ends up can't pulling the trigger. He ends up, then do it yourself. Like he wants Jesse to take him out. Like he doesn't want to go out on his own accord. He ends up taking him. And then Lydia calls the phone. She's acting like she's pretty sick. Walt's on the phone. Yeah, he's gone. They're all gone. Every one of them. Todd. Like, it's Walt. Sorry. Like, I knew you were going to, like, how you feeling? Like, you got the flu, like, under the weather? Like, you got the flu. Like, all the stuff. Yeah, I gave her ricin, basically. Stevia crap you put in your tea. Like, new, like, yeah, she's dead. He ends up killing her too. And then throws away the phone. Jesse gets in El Camino, which I don't know if that has anything to do with the movie we will watch next week. Because, little known fact, I'm a Breaking Bad stan. I've never seen El Camino, so it will be a first-time watch for me next week. Really excited for it. But I've always been fearful to go back into the world. That's why I've never watched Better Call Saul either, because I'm scared to go back into the world that I find perfect. Jesse breaks free. Basically, laughing, crying, drives away. And we notice he gets shot. He walks into the lab one more time, basically. Starts walking around, looking at everything. What's this? Do we know what's? Do you guys know what song plays? Blue. It's some
the Baby Blue.
Baby Blue plays just one of the most iconic songs where he's looking at the thing, looking himself into the situation, and then the cops. You see the cops pulling in, and yeah, Baby Blue is when he like looks up. He's dead. He has died there in the lab, like not his lab, but he died in the lab, like where he was at. When the police come in, like looking through the situation, and Breaking Bad is done. It is concluded. It is a finale. I think it's a brilliant season finale. I think it wraps up everything perfectly. Closes all the loose ends that we needed to close, and yeah, I think my favorite series finale of all time. So,
I mean, I think it's great. Like I said, it can't touch Ozymandias.
Yeah, right.
But I think it pretty much it's got just about all the elements you want from a great Breaking Bad episode. The opening is really good with the gray matter people. That's a funny little opening. That's cool, and we get to see Skinny Pete and Badger again. So I'm glad that they get to come back because I don't think they might have been like maybe in like an early episode this season, but other than that, this is probably like the only time they were in this season, really.
But I think they were when they were discussing Star Trek at the beginning.
Yeah. So like the one.
I think it's right before Hank finds out. Like it's when the money and he starts throwing it out the thing. It's like before that.
You get a final awkward business meeting there with Lydia and Todd and Walt. And then I think really the highlight of this episode for me is the scene with Walt and Skyler. I think just him just finally just admitting to himself and to her that it was about his ego and his pride this whole time. It wasn't about taking care of the family and everything. I think that's great. Yeah. The ending, I always thought like the ending, the whole thing with the Jack and them and the gun, I felt that was a little maybe anticlimactic for this show, but I think overall I think it's great. I mean, I'm happy that Jesse, he's been through so much. I'm glad that they didn't just kill him off at the end. He got to get away, and we'll see what happens with him next week. And I'm glad that Walt deserved to die.
Yeah. When Vince Gilligan was like approached and asked to do more seasons, he said no. The man has terminal cancer. He has an end. The end will be concluded. The only downside that it's not a downside for me because I love the show. Like the villain arc died with Gus, and Hank. Those are the two crucial linchpins for the majority of the seasons. Jack and Todd are introduced late, so even with it's almost like a fucking smartass Walt gets somebody else, but it's not like the satisfying when that nursing home explodes and he walks out and fixes his tie and he's dead. You don't get that satisfied, but you get before Walt goes out, Walt's going to get even. That's where I've always tied it into. It's not to the satisfying of Hank going out. Like Ozymandias, it could have ended there and something happens, but they set it up very cookie cutter. He's fixing the thing in the thing. It's going to go off. He's going to kill everybody in that room. I think it's awesome that they give Jesse that moment to hand him the gun, and Jesse goes, "Then do it yourself. I'm not pulling any more triggers for you." That died a long time ago, and I think that's you get to him break the free. He dies. He goes out. That's what they do so well. They knew this character had a demise and they were going to meet it, but he was going to go out on his own terms and be completed, which I like. So.
Can't remember. I'll just go with those two. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very good. I think it at least all the crucial storylines, it wraps them up pretty well. Funny nod, I do think kind of the Marty Robbins song at the beginning, that not only a song about a girl named Felina, but it also is about a guy who dies pretty much the same way Walter does. I thought it was a funny nod to that.
Vince is a fucking madman. He's doing a series on Apple TV, and I don't know what it is. It's untitled at this point, but he's got my full attention. Like, go for it. Like, see what happens.
And yeah, he just found they found the most hilarious way to bring back Badger and Skinny Pete. Just like, oh, these are my ace hitmen. Like, but
Well, Saul wouldn't give him names, so he had to improvise.
I mean, Saul's A team is already out. Like, we don't know where those
go. Right.
I am kind of curious how he got a hold of Badger and Skinny Pete, but I'll let that slide.
Where's Bill? Where? Whatever happened to Bill Burr too?
Oh, he got away.
Luckily for him.
And yeah, you guys mentioned it about just probably the true meat to this episode. That last Skylar and Walt meeting. It's great. Like, I think not only like she needed to hear it, I feel like we all needed to hear it. The audience had to hear this from Walt, that it was about him, because we knew it. We had to hear him admit it. We had to hear him like just say like, yeah, this was all about me. It was about my ego. It was what I wanted to do. It had nothing to do with anybody or anything, which was a nice send off. I think to me, like, the only, like, I had three things. I can't remember one of them, so it'll just be two. Like, I always have like kind of two gripes with this one. Like, one's pretty minor, which I think you kind of brought up with the gun. Like, it just, I feel like of what we see in the show, it's probably like my least favorite, like, Heisenberg scheme. Like, pretty much everything he's done before, I think, was kind of cooler, or had a nicer ring to it.
There's like so much where it could fail. Like, what
he's
if they like
terminally ill? The man doesn't got a whole lot left, so this is the best he's got, besides bringing a Tommy gun in there. But I agree with you.
So yeah, and then I always felt like, and I still feel it this way, in partly believe, like, you know, Gilligan made that movie for assholes like me who felt like the finale kind of shortchanged Jesse, because I think he's the only character who I think doesn't get like a full ending. Like, he just kind of, he gets away, and like that's kind of more or less the end of his story. And it always kind of bugged me really bad when I first saw it. I've lessened on it like over time, because I feel like at the very least, like, there's at least a bit of a of kind of like a character thing, at least with him at the end, where it's the only time where he doesn't let Walt manipulate him into doing something for him. Like, okay, you did that. I although just from the story wise, like, I feel like everybody kind of got like a good ending story or ending arc, and it feels like we kind of had to do a movie to do that with Jesse, which has always bugged me a little bit.
Because I think it's a bunch of asshole fans like you guys that were so pissed. But I'm thinking when he finally breaks through that gate that he couldn't get through, and like the relief feeling, like everybody that has held me back is dead back there. Like, I'm free. Like, I don't know about El Camino, so I don't know the movie. I may love it, I may hate it, I don't know. But I could see the gripe. Like, this is also, like, we gotta also think, like, the two shows we watched prior to this were HBO. This was AMC, so they had 50 minutes. Like, they were blocked in. They couldn't go longer. Like, so honestly,
they could have. Like, Breaking Bad is like the biggest show ever. Like, they could have given that.
I bet they could have had a conversation. I don't know where it was at the time, but like,
he just didn't take it. I think that was like, they could have given him 2 hours. I wouldn't have given a shit.
Yeah, probably not. But like, they were still in that 50-minute mark, because I still think like they would have extended longer if they would. Like, they just didn't on any of them. But I don't agree. Like, I do agree. Like, I understand why people would need closure for that situation. I just like that. Like, yeah, I've always thought, like, if I could have redone that ending, because, like, I don't give a fuck really about Jack and Todd. Like, it's nice to see him die and stuff. But that breakdown scene of, like, Walt, like it's anti-math, but, like, admits it to Skylar and does it and then, like, dies. Like, I've even heard of, like, fan theories, like, he turns himself into the jail and, like, dies in the cell, like, that night. Like, just gone. Like, there's a bunch of different areas that you could have done, but, like, that Skylar moment is everything for me. Like, everything. Because, like, she's breaking down and, like, don't say it. Well, I did it for me. And I liked it. And I was good at it. Like, it's basically telling the entire, you all fucking didn't believe in me forever. Like, and this is the only time I felt like I had any power or any control or anything, because you didn't let me have it in this life. Like, so I think it was a great moment between those two. So, and I'm really excited to watch Better Call Saul. That will be the show that I will watch. We will probably bring it onto the show at some point down the line, but I'm pulling the Band-Aid off. There's no time but now to watch it. Yeah. So that was the episode. We will rank season 5s next week. We will rank seasons, overall star grade. Matt, I don't know. We stopped doing it a long time ago. I don't know why that's the fact. I don't even know if you have kill count
I still have the kill count. So
we will talk about, we will do
count.
the total kill count number next week. And then we will announce what we are doing for season 2. We have talked about it. We have discussed it. We have it all planned out. We're ready. And then we will discuss El Camino and the Oz 20-minute thing. And we will be done. And then we will be back on for Chernobyl, 11/22/63, and Band of Brothers, which Band of Brothers, I'm beyond excited. Chernobyl, like it's just newer. I have heard great things.
Some uplifting stuff after watching these shows.
Yeah, but Band of Brothers is the one thing I've heard for like years now. So I'm really excited to see that. So we will be back next week. Have a great night. Bye-bye.